Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Selenium Tech Automation. In this tutorial, we are going to discuss about Selenium interview questions for experienced candidates. Okay, so I have already made one dedicated video about Selenium interview questions for 3+ years of experienced candidates. If you did not check out that video, I will provide that video link inside this tutorial description part. If you want, you can check out that video as well. Okay, let's get started with our today tutorial, that is Selenium interview questions for experienced candidates. Okay, the first question here is, what is the difference between @factory and @data provider annotation? Okay, we already know that TestNG provided some set of built-in annotations such as @test, @before method, @after method, @after test. So likewise we can have some set of built-in annotation. Okay, among those annotation we can have these two as well, that is @factory and @data provider annotation. Okay, so here what is the difference between these two? Okay, if we are using @factory annotation, means this @factory annotation will create some instances of test class, and it will run all the test method present inside the test class with some different set of data. Okay, with the help of this @factory annotation, we can create some instance of test classes, and we can run all the test method present inside that @factory annotation class with some different set of data. Okay, whereas you come to @data provider annotation, it will bound to individual test methods and it will run the specific method multiple times. Okay, if we are using @data provider, means we can run all the individual test methods multiple times. Okay, so I will show you the example also here. So let me go back to our my Eclipse. So where I written some small example for @data provider and @factory annotation. You can see here, with the help of @data provider, we can easily implement the data driven test cases, which means where I have 20 users, I want to log into some application along with their credentials. So during that time we can easily implement this data driven concept here, data driven test cases. Okay, to achieve that data driven concept, we have to use this @data provider annotation here. Okay, first I want to mention, first we have to create a test method where we are going to provide some functionality. Okay, here I am providing some functionality that I want to print some string s1 and s2. Okay, so after that, what is our next step? We have to use @data provider annotation, which means we have to provide some input to our @test method. Okay, so where we are providing input, so that method should be surrounded or configured with @data provider annotation along with the name of that @provider annotation. Okay, so this, for this test method, I have to provide input. Okay, for providing the input I have to create a method. So in the same way, I have to pass that @provider annotation name to this particular test method. Okay, here I am taking some two-dimensional array of 3 by 2 matrix. Okay, you can see it is two-dimensional object of type array, and also it is providing three test data inputs, that is Selenium Tech S1 T1 S2 T2. Okay, if I execute this program, you can see the output here as Selenium Tech S1 T1 S2 T2. First it will tell you sample test S2 T2. Okay, sample test Selenium Tech, sample test S1 T1, which means I executed this @test method with different set of test data, that is Selenium Tech S1 T1 S2 T2. Okay, so whereas if you come to @test factory, factory annotation, first I created a class, so where it is having two methods, that is test method and test method 2, where I am going to print str and str selenium from method 2. Okay, to use this @factory annotation, I have created one more class, so where it is single dimensional array of type object. Okay, here you can see I am providing three different kind of inputs. Okay, if I execute this class, it will execute these @test methods with some different set of data multiple times. Okay, if I execute this class, you can see, sorry, if I execute this @factory annotation class, you can see the output here. Okay, First it is printing tech automation Selenium. Okay, first it is taking that at the rate test method where we provided str string. Okay, so after that it is executing my second method, that is test method 2. So where we can have str Selenium, str Selenium, str Selenium, means we are creating, we are creating some instance of that particular class to execute all the test method present inside this class with some different set of test data. Okay, that is the difference between these two annotations. Okay, so then our next slide will be how we can create a data driven framework using TestNG. We have already discussed about this one, and also what is the use of @listener annotation in TestNG. Okay, listeners are used for performing some action in case an event gets triggered. Okay, I have already made a dedicated video about TestNG listeners. Okay, if you want you can check out that video as well. And also the most widely used listeners in TestNG is iTest listener interface. Okay, and also we can have different methods here. The method is on test success, on test failure, on test skip. Okay, if my test method got passed, I want to add some log. Okay, with the help of this on test success I can provide some log. If my test method got failed, with the help of this on test failure I can provide some log to print inside our console. In the same way, if my test case got skipped, I can print some log inside my console with the help of this on test skipped. Okay, so then how we can run test cases in parallelly using TestNG. Okay, in order to run the tests in parallel, just we need to add these two key and value pairs at suit level, that is suit.xml file. Okay, that is testng.xml file. With the help of this parallel keyword we can mention for methods or tests or classes also. If I want to run my methods parallelly, I can simply mention here parallel equals to method. If I want to run my tests parallelly, I can mention here tests equals to parallel. If I want to run my classes parallel, I can mention here parallel equals to classes. Okay, so moving to the next slide, how can we make one test method dependent on other using TestNG. Okay, how can we make one test method dependent on other test methods using TestNG? Okay, so first let me open my Eclipse. I will show you with an example. So here you can see depends on methods. Okay, so here we have three methods here, that is launching URL and enter the credentials and login test. Okay, so here first if I execute this class, so first it will print launching URL. First I have to launch, so after that I have to enter my credentials. Once if I enter, I have to click on that login button. Okay, this is a scenario. So here how we can use this depends on methods. Okay, if I want to enter my credentials, it means before that I want to launch my URL. Okay, if I want to log into my application, before that I have to enter my credentials, which means all these methods are interlinking with their before methods. Okay, so during this time we can use this depends on methods. Okay, based upon my previous method I am going to execute my next methods. Okay, so if I execute this test case, we will see the output here. Okay, you can see the console part. If my launching URL is not successful, so then my remaining methods also going to be failed, right? If I am not able to launch means URL means, so then I don't get any UI to enter my credentials, so then I am not going to get any UI to click on that login button. Okay, so here my launching URL got failed means I'm not going to perform the remaining actions. So you can see the output launching was not successful. Okay, even though if I want to continue with remaining test methods execution, so during the time what I will do, so I will just pass here always. Okay, always run equals to true. Okay, if I mention this line, it is not going to stop my execution here, it will continue with the remaining steps as well. Okay, so you can see here it will tell you, here launching was not successful but remaining test methods got executed. Okay, if I don't want to depend upon the previous method where those are failing, so I can use always run equals to true. Okay, during this scenario we can mention here always run equals to true, so that you will continue with your remaining test methods execution. Okay, so this is how we can use this depends on methods code here. Okay, then moving to the next slide. Okay, so we already see this one, how we can pass parameter to test script using TestNG, we already saw. So then what are some common assertions provided by TestNG? Okay, we already know that TestNG provided some few assertions. Those are assert equals, assert not equals, assert false, assert true, and assert not null, assert dot fail, and assert dot true. Okay, so these are all the common assertions provided by TestNG. Okay, so then going to the next question. So name an API used for logging in Java. Okay, the logging in Java means name an API used for logging in Java means you can mention log4j is an open source API widely used for logging in Java. Okay, if we are using log4j means we will get all the logs like all, debug, info, warn, error, trace, and fatal. Based upon my requirements, I can make all these logs with the help of all these methods, that is all, debug, info, warn, error, trace, and fatal. These are all the levels of that logs. Okay, so then how to handle hidden elements in Selenium WebDriver? Okay, how to handle hidden elements in Selenium WebDriver? With the help of JavaScript executor, we can easily handle the hidden elements in Selenium WebDriver. So this is a syntax, so where I'm going to use this by dot class name of locator dot click method. Okay, what is HTML unit driver? HTML unit driver is the fastest web driver compared to other drivers such as Firefox driver, Chrome driver, or IE driver or Edge driver. It is bit faster than the remaining browsers, that is HTML unit driver. Okay, here the HTML unit driver is non graphical user interface. It won't have any GUI. Okay, on executing test scripts no browser get launched. Okay, we don't get any user interface once if you are executing your test scripts. So then how to execute Java code script inside our Selenium? Okay, how to execute Java script code in Selenium? Okay, here what is JavaScript? Here JavaScript is an OOPS scripting language used to make web pages interactive, while Java is an OOPS programming language. Okay, so first you can explain him. JavaScript is an OOPS scripting language used to make web pages interactive, where Java is an OOPS programming language. Okay, so here in Selenium WebDriver we can find any element by using of locators like XPath, ID, name, etc. Okay, but sometime what will happen, these locators cannot identify or don't work. So at this situation we can use JavaScript executor. Okay, when we are going for JavaScript to use in Selenium WebDriver, we can find all the elements with the help of locators like XPath or CSS or name, ID, or etc. Okay, but sometimes what will happen, these locators cannot be identifiable and also cannot going to be work. Okay, so during this situation we are going to use this JavaScript executor. Okay, here JavaScript is an interface and it indicates that a driver can execute the JavaScript. Okay, here JavaScript executor means it is an interface and it will indicates that a driver can execute the JavaScript. Okay, and what is this execute script here? What is this execute script here? It is a method and it is implemented from JavaScript executor. Okay, execute script is a method, it is implemented from JavaScript executor, but it will execute the JavaScript in the context of currently selected object. Okay, this JavaScript executor is a class, so where it is provided execute script method. Okay, but this execute script method will execute the JavaScript in the context of the currently selected object or web element. Okay, the syntax here is JavaScript executor of driver is an interface object, so then we are using here execute script method. Okay, so then what are the some commonly encountered exceptions in Selenium? Okay, we already know that there will be some chances to get some no such element exception, element not visible exception, no alert present exception, no such frame exception, no such window exception, unexpected alert present exception, timeout exception, invalid element state exception, no such attribute exception, WebDriver exception. Okay, so you can find some description part here as well. So I'm not going to explain about all this description part. So I just mentioned here what are all the different commonly encountered exceptions in our Selenium. Okay, these are all the commonly encountered exceptions. Okay, so then what are the different mouse actions that can be performed using Selenium? Okay, with the help of Selenium, so what are all the different mouse actions we are going to perform means, so we can with the help of mouse we can click, we can double click, we can do some context click, we can mouse up, and also we can mouse down, we can mouse move, we can mouse move. Okay, sorry, mouse move. Okay, so these are all the actions we can perform with the help of mouse actions inside our Selenium. Okay, so then what are the different keyboard operations that can be performed in Selenium means, the different keyboard operations that can be performed in Selenium are, that is send keys, dot press keys, dot release keys. Okay, so these are all the different keyboard operations that can be performed inside our Selenium. Here send keys means used for passing the character sequence to an input or textbooks element, whereas dot press key means used for keys like control or function keys etc. that are non-text. Okay, so whereas dot release keys means used in conjunction with key press event to simulate releasing a key from the keyboard event. Okay, these are all the different keyboard operations that can be performed in Selenium. Okay, what are some expected conditions that can be used in explicitly wait? Okay, during your interview, interviewer will ask you about the exceptions exceptions present inside that explicitly wait. Okay, so some commonly used expected conditions, sorry, not exceptions, these are all expected conditions. Okay, interviewer will ask you about what are the different expected conditions present inside our explicit wait technique. Okay, so during that time you can explore all these different kind of expected conditions, that is element to be clickable, staleness of web element, visibility of web element, attribute contains, alert is present, title contains, text to be present. Okay, these are all the some expected conditions present inside this explicit wait condition. Okay, how we can handle window user interface elements and window pop-ups using Selenium? Okay, Selenium is used for automating web-based applications only. Okay, we already know that with the help of Selenium we can automate only web-based applications. If you want to automate Windows graphical user interface elements means we need to use tools like AutoIT or SIKULI, and also we can use sometimes robot class as well. And also here AutoIT is a open source and it is used for automating the graphical user interface. And also AutoIT scripts follow simple basic language like syntax, and also it can be easily integrated with Selenium test. Okay, I have already made one video about how we can how we can automate window based graphical user interface scenarios also. I have already made one dedicated video about AutoIT as well, so please check out that video as well. Okay, so then our next question here is how to handle the HTTPS website in Selenium, or how to accept the SSL untrusted connections. Okay, using profiles concept we can handle accepting the SSL untrusted connection certificates. Profiles are basically set for user preferences stored in a file. Okay, this is the code to handle this HTTP website in Selenium. Okay, so then the next question here is, can we test APIs or web services using Selenium WebDriver? Okay, definitely the answer will be no, because Selenium WebDriver uses the browser's native method to automate the web applications. So there is no support for testing web services using Selenium WebDriver. If you want to test APIs or web services means we need to use some tools like Postman or REST assured frameworks we have to use, or tools. Okay, so and also how to do file upload in Selenium. Okay, to achieve this scenario we can perform in some multiple ways. The first way here is using element.sendKeys. So then we are going to provide the path of that particular file on the web element of input tag and type of file. So the element should be like, in the HTML means input type equals to file, name equals to file upload. Okay, with the help of robot API also we can handle this scenario. With the help of AutoIT tool also we can handle this file uploading scenarios. Okay, so these are all the 20 questions I made for this session. Okay, so I hope you people will learn something about from this video. Okay, and also please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, that is Selenium Tech Automation, and also please share this video to your friends or colleagues so that they will also learn about these 20 interview questions from Selenium point of view. I hope this will helps you before going for any interview. So that's all it for now. So thank you so much guys. So we will connect with our next video. Until then, everyone, take care. Signing off, Selenium Tech Automation. Thanks guys.